better.
Mr. Trump, this is Chris.
Sure, I know.
How you doing,
Chris.
Mr. Trump? Chris, good to see you again, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate your time today. I
Chris
want to
has the
record
best
this on
voicemail in the world. He
Oh, really?
says, I can't answer my phone because I'm off fighting terrorists and
Oh, that's
communists.
funny. Then he has to like me.
Yeah, that's
Then he has to
exactly
like me.
right.
That's cool, Chris.
It has been a joy watching your campaign
Thank you.
because I think that not only myself, but people resonate with the fact that you don't mince words, you don't play.
We don't have time to play.
No,
You know, and we don't have time to be politically correct. It takes a long time to be politically correct. And like you and I are highly educated, right? But the truth is, I mean, you have to get down to the points. Otherwise, we're going to lose this country. So,
if you're elected president, and a big frustration I find in my listeners is that when someone gets elected president, they go right back to the same teams that were in other administrations that got us in a lot of this mess in the first place. If you're elected president, how will you go about picking your cabinet, your advisors? Will you rely more on the private sector, the people that you know that are successful?
so first of all, I love your question. And a lot of this pertains not only to president. How about all of the congressmen that came out of your area and came out of Iowa and came out of lots of different states where they go in and they're going to beat Obamacare. They're going to beat all these different things and they're going to be heavy on security. And they're not going to let, you saw what happened last week with this horrible, horrible budget where we're funding all of these things that Obama wanted, having to do with people coming into the country. For some reason, they go there, they get elected on one promise, and then they go and it's just like they just raise their hand, they're automatic yes. So I will tell you, Chris, that we are going to be very, very strong. And what you're seeing, and I think you understand that, because I know a lot about you actually, I think you understand it. What you see with me is what you get. I'm saying things, and I have no contributors. Nobody's contributing to my campaign. I don't want anybody to, other than the tiny donations that people send in, but it's not a big deal. Because frankly, I want to make them. It's part of the whole beautiful thing that we have in this country. But I'm self-funding my campaign, and nobody's going to tell us what to do. We're going to do the right thing for the country, and I think it's very important. What you see is what you get. What you hear tonight and now is what you're going to get.
You're a results guy.
Right.
People in the world of politics seem to be more involved in process. And I'll use an example of the VA hospitals. After we learned of all the horrible things going on with the VA hospitals, they weren't getting patients in to see doctors. They were covering up for their mistakes. No one ever got fired. In a Trump administration, will there be accountability?
Yeah. It'll be like The Apprentice. It's called You're Fired. We have tremendous incompetence in the VA. We have tremendous theft, and it's really dishonesty in the VA and the Veterans Administration. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to take care of our veterans. There's nobody more important to us, and there's nobody more important to me. The veterans have fought for us. You have some of these folks that have no legs and no arms. You look at some of the wounded warriors. It's unbelievable how badly they're treated. We're going to straighten out the VA. I put in a plan, I don't know, you see, a big policy plan on the Veterans and Veterans Administration, and it was something that everybody is getting rave reviews. Everybody loves it. But we're going to straighten out the VA. I'm going to bring in the best people, whether they're in government now or whether I bring them from the private sector. It's going to be a combination of both, because you don't want to bring everybody in. We don't want to totally, the egg is already broken. We want to fix it up. But we're going to use some from government that are great, and we're going to bring in a lot of people from the outside who are spectacular. I can tell you, our trade negotiators, I already know some of them. They're the top businessmen in the world. They're the roughest, toughest, smartest business people. We're not using donors. We're not using special interest people who are actually negotiating for themselves. We're not using people like that and lobbyists. We're using the smartest business people. They don't even want salaries. They don't even want money. They just want to do it because their ego tells them to do it, and they want to do it also for the good of the country. So when you see China just ripping us, we've rebuilt China. Last year we had a trade deficit with China of $500 billion. Not going to happen with me.
There's a business. You're a businessman. I think that you can understand this perspective more than anybody else in this race. The state of Colorado voted to legalize marijuana. The federal law, the federal drug law, trumps the, no pun intended, the federal drug law trumps that state law. Surrounding states like Nebraska and Iowa are spending a lot. They're spending a lot of their resources in prosecuting and incarcerating people who are going in and out of Colorado to run dope. At the same time, There are people who have millions of dollars invested in their little pot businesses in Colorado. They're able to do this because the Justice Department is using discretion, and they're just not enforcing the law. The next president is going to have to make a very difficult decision. Are they going to enforce federal law, which could mean people lose millions and millions of dollars, or do they stay status quo? You're a businessman, Donald Trump. How do you handle this where both sides are happy?
Well, I'm very familiar with the issue, and it's a very interesting issue, frankly, and I really like to leave it up to the states in this case and let the states do what they, you have more people looking to legalize. And frankly, the question as to whether or not it's really working is still up in the air, because there is a health question, and people are starting to question whether or not this has been okay for the population from a health standpoint. But it's something I like to leave up to the states. Those are things that I like to leave up to the various states to solve their own problems. It's something the federal government, I believe, at that level shouldn't be involved with.
Would you ask the Congress to either decide whether or not they want to change federal law?
I would ask them, and I'd actually also take the views of your governors and your senators and all of the people, because you folks are really surrounding Colorado, and you're the ones that are affected, and you're getting none of the benefits. Don't forget, you're not getting the money brought in, you're getting a lot of the problems. And I would be talking to all of the people representing your area, and we'll come up with a solution.
Are there things going on right now where you see the federal government getting involved in that under a Trump leadership they would stay out of, such as Major League Baseball or NFL football? What I hear from my listeners is they don't want to see the government getting involved in some of these things. They think they're too trivial. How are you going to be able to roll back some of the trivial interests of government that seem to get in the way of good governance for things that government ought to be involved in?
Well, I agree with your listeners. I think it's ridiculous. I hear St. Louis is being investigated in Houston, having to do with cyber, essentially. And I'm saying to myself, what's going on over here? We're being hacked by the Chinese, by the Russians, and by the North Koreans, and everybody else probably. And we're worried about the St. Louis Cardinals and the Houston baseball team. No, I agree with that 100%. We shouldn't be involved in that. We should not be involved at all. And again, that's a local team issue, it's a league issue, and it's a state issue.
All right. Well,
Okay,
that's
man.
all I got, Donald
That's
Trump.
good.
I really appreciate
Thank
your
you, man.
time.
Thank you for
Listen,
being nice. I appreciate
Thanks a lot. You're making people love this country
Yeah,
again.
we're gonna bring them
That's
back.
so important.
We're going to bring. Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Mr.
You going to be
Trump.
over there?
Thank you.
No, I got
that's
dinner with
terrible.
the
Chris,
I got
I
dinner
brought
with
you
the
a hat.
family.
I like that.
Thought you might like
Oh,
that,
you're
given your
fabulous.
message.
You're fabulous. By the way, last time you were in town, you talked to my 15-year-old son.